Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Tonight we got a great show for you. We're going to be talking about the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. How about that? Kind of a good one. I'm getting it all out of this old book that I bought years ago. No, actually, I didn't buy years. It's years old, I should say. But anyway, this is it's called The Wisdom of the Egyptians. It is really old. And it was printed in 1923. It says copyright 1923. And it is pretty neat. It's The Wisdom of the Egyptians by Brian Brown. So let's go back to 1923. Now this is about the middle of the book. And it talks about Imhotep and the Kemabgai, or whatever, the oldest book in the world, Imhotep's book. We're going to get into that another day. Religion of Ancient Egypt, which is pretty much most of the book. And the story of Egypt. And maybe we'll go into that one of these days. But today, we're going to get right into the Book of the Dead. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I do appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you're all doing good. You had a great weekend. Maybe you got some dinner somewhere and associated with friends and celebrated a little bit of that spring weather that we're having. That time of year when everything is renewed, and that's what we're talking about. And in the background here, I got Anubis, I got some people, and I got the scales where they weigh your heart against a feather. If you didn't know that. So, what do we got? We got some pictures, of course. Thank you, though, for coming, each and every one. Each and every one. And I'm glad you're all here tonight. I'll do some shout outs a little later. But for now, we are just going to concentrate on this. Let everybody get into the chat room. Thank you for coming. This has been a great privilege of mine to bring you this part of my presentation. Okay, and we have, there we go. Get all set up. Yay! I think I got it. Share. There we go. Yay! Ha! Hot diggity dog. Now you can see it. See how he's weighing the scales with a feather. Anubis and Thoth. So, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, here we go. The Book of the Dead. The Egyptian title of which Pert Inuhurar has been variously translated. Coming forth by day, and the manifestation day is a great body of religious compositions compiled for the use of the dead in the other world. And that's what we're all working for. We're all working for the end of us, of you, because that's one inevitable thing we're all going to do is die. And why not prepare? Are you here just to soup it up and enjoy? Or are you here to learn something so you can go back there and be something? If you believe in that kind of stuff. Or do you just believe you die and go into the dark and that's it? You're dust. We have to kind of have some kind of hope that there might be something more. Okay, is it probable that the name had a significance for the Egyptians which is incapable of being rendered in any modern language and is born out of another title or of another of its titles, the chapter of making perfect the Hu or spirit text dealing with this welfare of the dead and their life in the world beyond the grave are known to have been in use among the Egyptians as early as 4000 BC. The oldest form of the Book of the Dead known to us is represented in the pyramid text with the invention of mummification, a more complete funerary ritual arose based on the hope that such ceremonies as it imposed would ensure the corpse against corruption, preserve it forever, and introduce it to a beautiful existence among the gods. Almost immediately prior to the dynastic era, a great stimulus appears to have been given to the cult of Osiris throughout Egypt. He had now become the god of the dead par excellence, and his dogma taught that from the preserved corpse would spring a beautiful astral body, the future home of the spirit of the deceased. It therefore became necessary to adopt measures of the greatest precaution for the preservation of human remains. And now they dig those mummies up, put them in museums, and some, back in the 20s and 30s, they used to dig them up and sell them on street corners. Okay, generally of all the texts comprised in the Book of the Dead are in one form or another of much greater antiquity than the period of Men, the first historical king of Egypt. Indeed, from internal evidence, it is possible to show that many of these were revised or edited long before the copies known to us were made, even as early as 3300 BC. The professional writers who transcribed antithesis texts appear to have been so puzzled by their contents that they hardly understood their purpose or purport. Dr. Bulge states we are, in any case, justified in estimating the earliest form of work to be contemporaneous from the foundation of civilization, which we call Egyptian, in the valley of the Nile. I hope you're all learning something from this. The hierarchy inscription among the sarcophagus of Queen Khemnerfi, wife of Mentu Hebatef, a king of the 11th dynasty. I wonder what happened in the first 10. At 2500 BC, states that a certain chapter of the Book of the Dead was discovered in the reign of Heseptai, the fifth king of the first dynasty, who flourished about 4266 BC. This sarcophagus affords us two copies of the said chapter, one immediately following the other. That as early as 2500 BC, a chapter of the Book of the Dead should be referred to a date almost 2,000 years before that time. It is astounding, and the mind reels before the idea of a tradition which, during comparatively unlettered centuries, would have conserved a religious formula, almost unimpaired. Thus, 34 centuries ago, a portion of the Book of the Dead was regarded as extremely ancient, mysterious, and difficult of comprehension. It will be noted that also that the inscription on the tomb of Queen Khemnerfidi bears out that the chapter in question was discovered about 4266 BC. If it were merely discovered at that early era, what periods of remoteness lie between the epoch and the time when it was first reduced to writing? The description of the chapter on the sarcophagus of the royal lady states that this chapter was found in the foundations beneath the dweller in the Hindu boat of the foreman of the builders in time of the king of the south and north, Heseptai, whose word is truth, and Bensini Papyrus says that the chapter was found in the city of Khemu, or Hermatopolis, or on a block of alabaster, written in letters of lapsi lazuli, under the feet of the god. Pronounce that fast 3 times. It also appears that Turin papyrus, which dates from the period of the 26th dynasty, that the name of the finder was Hereunder, the son of Cheops, who was at the time engaged in a tour of inspection of the temples. Sir Gaston Marsupo is doubtful concerning the importance which should be attached to the statement regarding the chapter on the tomb of Queen Camerfit, or Fert, Camerfit, but I don't even know how to say that one. But M. Nashville considers the chapter in question one of the oldest of the books of the dead. So apparently, this lady, which was the one of the royal ladies, she died, and they put a chapter of the dead in papyrus in her tomb 4,000 years ago. How about that? The bas relief of the second dynasty bears an inscription dedicating to the shade of a certain priest the formula of the 1,000 loaves of bread, thousands of jugs of ale, and so forth, and so common in later times. We thus see that 4,000 years BC it was regarded as a religious duty to provide offerings of meat and drink for the dead, and there seems to be good evidence from the nature of the formula in question that it had become fixed and ritualistic by this period. This passage would appear to justify the text of the sarcophagus of the wife of Mentuhotep. A few centuries later, about the time of Sirfu, which is 3,766 BC, the cult of the dead was expanded greatly from the architectural point of view, and larger and more imposing chemotaphs were provided for them. Victorious wars had brought much wealth to Egypt, and its inhabitants were better able to meet the very considerable expenditure detailed among them by one of the most expensive cults known to the history of religion. In the reign of Menkaure, a revision of certain parts of the text of the Book of the Dead appears to have been undertaken. The authority for this is that the rubrics attached to the certain chapters, which states that they were found inscribed upon the block of alabaster in letters of lapis lazuli in the time of that monarch. Now, I'm probably saying them words wrong, but oh well. You can improvise with me. We do not find a text comprising the Book of the Dead as a whole until the reign of Utnus, 333 BC. A lot of threes in there, people. Whose pyramid was opened in 1881 by Sir G. Maspero. The stone walls were covered with text, extremely difficult to decipher because of their archaic character and spelling among them. Many from the Book of the Dead continue in his excavations at Squatara. Masupio made his way into the pyramid of Tita, 3,300 BC, in which he discovered inscriptions, some of which were identical with those in the pyramid of Uthus, so that the existence of the fully formed Book of the Dead by that time of the first king of the 6th dynasty was proven. So basically, they were making revisions to the Book of the Dead, little by little, thousands, after a couple thousand years. Additional texts were found in the tomb of Pepi the First, 3233 BC. From this, it will be seen that before the close of the 6th dynasty, 5 copies of the series of texts forming of the Book of the Dead of that period are in evidence and has been observed. There is substantial proof that it is ceremonial was in vague of the second, in a vogue in the second, and probably in the first dynasty. Its text continues to be copied and employed until the 2nd century of the Christian era. Well, there you go. See, so they were. It's kind of like the Bible, It's been around for a couple thousand years, and they constantly change it. There's different versions of it, and as they change the versions and change the text, it gets a little bit changed each and every time. And so the thing is you change a little bit here and change a little bit there, and over 1,000 years, it's a little bit different. But I suppose because you're changing, your people are changing, they got new technology, they have to change it a little bit here and there. And I suppose over 1,000 years it would. It appears that each chapter of the Book of the Dead had an independent origin, and it is probable that their inclusion and adoption into the body of the work was spread over many centuries. Isn't that what I told you? It is possible. I didn't even have to read the book, and I know what it says. It is possible that some of the texts reflect changes in theological opinion, but each chapter stands by itself. It would seem, however, that there was a traditional order in the sequence of the chapters. There were 3 recessions or versions of the Book of the Dead: the Heliopolitan, the Theban, and the Setae. The Heliopolitan recession was edited by the priests of the College of Anu, or known to the Greeks as Heliopathus, and was based upon texts not now recoverable. Yeah, so they lost it. The pyramids of Utis, Tita, and Pepi contain the original text of this recession, which represent both theological systems introduced by the priest of Ra. The essentials of the primitive Egyptian religion are, however, retained, the only modification in them being the induction of the solar doctrine of Ra. Ra is the sun god. In later times, the priesthood of Ra was forced to acknowledge the supremacy of Osiris, and in this theological defeat is visible in the more modern text. Between the 6th and the 11th dynasties, the priest of On edited a number of fresh chapters from time to time. The Thebians recession was much in vogue from the 18th to the 22nd dynasties, and was usually written upon papyri and painted upon coffins in hieroglyphics. Each chapter was preserved distinct from the others, but appears to have had no distinct place in the entire collection. See, so little by little, they changed a word here, a word there, made a new tradition. It's like you do at home. You have chicken on one holiday and turkey on another and ham on another, and then it seems to go that way. Or you have, or something like that. Some people put up their Christmas tree before the holiday. Some take it down right after, and that's your tradition. And then you get that wrote down, and then somebody comes along and says, "No, I'm going to keep it up 2 days," and somebody says, "I'm going to keep it up after New Year's," and the next thing you know, that's your tradition, and then you write it down. The Setae recession was definitely arranged at some prior date to the 26th dynasty, and is written upon coffins in papyri, and also in heretical and demotic script. It continued to be employed to the end of the Ptolemaic period. As we previously noticed, the Book of the Dead was for their use from the moment when they found themselves inhabitants of the other world. Magic was the very mainspring of existence in that sphere, and unless the spirit was acquainted with the formula which compelled the respect of the various gods and demons, and even the intimate objects, it was helpless. The religion to which the dead departed, the primitive Egyptians called Duat. They believed it to be formed out of the body of Osiris. It was regarded as dark and gloomy, containing pits of fire and dreadful monsters which circled the earth, and was in its turn bound by a river and a lofty chain of mountains. The part of it that was nearest to Egypt was regarded as a description of the mingled desert and forest through which the soul of the deceased might not hope to struggle unless guided by some benevolent spirit who knew the path through the country of despair. Thick darkness covered everything, and under the veil of this, the hideous inhabitants of the place practiced all sorts of hostility to the newcomer, unless by the use of words of power he could prove his superiority over them. But there was one detectable part in this horrid region, the Skit Hetep, the Elysian fields, which contain the Skit Haru, or the fields of reeds, where dwelt the god of Osiris and his company. At first, he had domain over this part of the Duat alone, but gradually he succeeded in extending it over the entire country of the dead, of which he was monarch. We find also a god of the Duat named Duati, who also appears to have been more a personification of the region than anything else. Now the wish of all good men was to win to the kingdom of Osiris, and to that end they may have exhausted exhaustive study of the prayers and rituals of the Book of the Dead, in order that they might more easily penetrate to the region of bliss. This they might reach by two ways, by land and by water. The path by water was no whit less dreadful than that by land, the passage of the soul being barred by streams of fire and boiling water, and the banks of the rivers navigated were populous with evil spirits. Boy, wouldn't want to take that trip. On the boat, you got evil spirits, monsters in the water. You take by the land, you got streams of fire and, oh man, evil things running around. I guess, see, that's a way to keep people going, you know. And here's a new picture. There you go. Maybe you guys can make sense of all this. There you go. Maybe that's the thing. Okay, so if you're an Egyptian, you would be there and you'd have to remember your prayers. You'd have to remember some hymns to sing while you walk through the forest or sail down the river. You're trying to get to the other side of the field where Osiris is reigning over, and then you get to the bliss. And that's your goal. Now, if you don't know where you're going and you don't have a map, you employ somebody, the Duati. And then you go there and he guides you. Under his wing, you travel and hopefully you make it. So here's the section from the Book of the Dead, the hymn to the setting sun. Now, where they got all this, I don't know. But here it is. The hymn of praise to Ra, which he risen upon the horizon, and when he saith in the land of life. Osiris described anti-Seth. Homage to thee, O Ra, when thou risest, has Timo Herkuti, I'll never make it, Timo Harkumas, thou art adored by me, when thy beauties are before mine eyes, and when thy resonance falleth upon, boy, I'd never make it to that bliss, would I? Fallen upon my body, thou goest forth to thy setting in the sket boat with fair winds, and thy heart is glad, the heart of the matter boat rejoiceth. It's all this thitheth and thou and thous. Sounds like the Bible almost. Thee, thou, thou, and them. Thou stridest over the heavens in peace, and all thy foes are cast down. The never resting stars, singing hymns of praise unto thee, and the stars which rest, and the stars which never fail glorify thee as thou sinkest to rest in the horizon of Manu. O thou art beautiful and morn and at eve, O thou Lord, who livest the art established, O my Lord. I'll tell you one thing. If I had to remember that, it would take my whole lifetime to remember that phrase, and I would still probably mess it up. I would never make it to the other side. Let's go on. Homage to thee, O thou art Ra, when thou richest, and Deem, when thou settest in beauty. I think you're supposed to sing this, like, O thou art Ra, when thou risest, and them thou settest in beauty. I'm just having too much fun with this. Thou risest and shinest on the back of thy mother. Nut, O thou art crowned king of the gods. Nut doeth homage unto thee and everlasting. Basically, you're giving homage to Ra and Manu and the different gods. So you're paying homage. You're paying homage. Thou stridest over the heavens, being glad of heart, and the lake of Testes is content thereat. The subdue friend hath fallen to the ground, his arms and his hands have been hacked off, and the knife hath serveth the joints of his body. Ra hath a fair wind, and sketcheth the boat, goeth forth, and sailing along it cometh into port. The gods of the south and of the north, of the west and the east, praise thee, O thou divine substance, from whom all forms of life come into being. Thou sendest forth the word, and the earth is flooded with silence. O thou only one who didst dwell in heaven before ever the earth and the mountains came into existence. O runner, O Lord, O only one, thou maker of things which are thou hast fashioned. The tongue of the company of the gods thou hast produced whatsoever cometh forth from the waters, and thou springest up from them over the flooded land of the lake of Horus. Let me snuff the air which cometh forth from thy nostrils, and the nostrils, and the north wind which cometh forth from thy mother. Nut, O make thou to be glorious my shining form. Canoe, Osiris, make thou to be divine. O my soul, Ba, thou art. Oh, thou art. Okay, a little bit more, people. A little bit more. We'll finish this up, and we'll be sailing on the boat to a new land, shipped in peace. O thou art shipped in peace. O setting, O Lord of gods, thou art exalted by reason of thy wondrous works, shining thou with the rays of light upon my body day by day, upon me, Osiris, the scribe, the teller of the divine offerings of all the gods, the overseer of the granary of the lords of Abydos, and royal scribe in truth, who loveth thee, and tie victorious in peace. Okay, so there you go. All I can say is in 4,000 years, nothing has really changed. You go to church, in the Catholic Church, they're saying the same thing. They're all wondering where, to this day, we're all standing around wondering where we came from. And 4,000 years ago, they were standing around wondering where they came from then. So how is that possible? Everybody wants to know where they came from. Everybody wants to praise some God who's going to save them and take them to the other side and give them gifts of goodness and lift them up and keep them and send them on to some better place. Now, there's a hymn of Lindsay to Osiris, and I'm not going to read that one. Opening the mouth of Osiris. Okay, let's go on to this. If you want to know all about this, go find your own book. And it says, opening the mouth of Osiris. In one of the tombs of the New Stone Age was found a flint instrument, which, as we know from inscriptions of the dynastic period, was used in performing the ceremony of opening the mouth of the dead. A fact that proves that even in the old Stone Age, a ceremony was performed on the dead body with the purpose of assisting the soul or spirit to acquire the facilities and powers needed by it in the other world. In this ceremony, the flint instrument was thrust between the teeth of the dead man, and when these were separated, his spirit form was believed to acquire the power to eat and drink, to speak, to think, and to perform all natural functions of the body. Go figure. Well, if you're dead, what do you need to eat for? But speak and do all those things. It makes me wonder where all this came from. Okay, the chapter of opening the mouth of Osiris, the scribe, anti-triumphant saint. Many of the god hath opened my mouth, and may the god of my city lose the swathings, even the swathings which are over my mouth. Moreover, may Thoth be filling and furnished with charms come and lose the bandages, even the bandages of Set, which feather my mouth, and may the god term hurler when at those who would feather me, with them to drive them back. May my mouth be open, may my mouth be unclosed by Shu, which his iron knife, wherein he opened the mouths of the gods. I am godless, Seret, and I sit upon my place in the great wind of heaven. I am the great goddess Sa, who dwelleth among the souls of Anu, Heliopathus. Now, as concerning ever charm, and all the words which may be spoken against me, may the god resist them, and may each and every one of the company of the gods withstand them. And there you go. There's some more. And there's another prayer that's called the soul and the body, and we're not going to go into that one. And here's one for evil recollections, another hymn you're supposed to say. Oh, and here's one for the opening of the tomb. Of the open tomb, the chapter of opening of the tomb, the soul and the shade of Osiris. The scribe Nepesidi, the lord of reverence, born of the lady of the house, Mutarasa, triumphs so that he may come forth by day and have dominion over his fleet. He saith that which was shut fast hath been opened. That is to say, he had laid down in death, hath been open, which was open hath been shut to my soul through the command of the eye of Horus, which hath strengthened me, and which maketh to stand fast the beauties which are among the forehead of Ra, whose strides are along as he lifted up his legs in journeying. I have made for myself a way, my members are mighty and are strong. I am Horus, the avenger of his divine father. I am he who bringeth along his divine father, and who bringeth along his mother by means of his scepter. And the way shall be open unto him who hath gotten domain over his feet. And he shall see the great God in the boat of Ra, when the souls are counted therein, at the bows, and when the years are so counted up, grant that the eye of Horus, which maketh the dormants of life to be firm upon the forehead of Ra. May they deliver the soul for me, and let there be darkness upon your faces, O ye who hold fast Osiris. And then it just goes on and on and on. Boy, oh boy. No wonder why the Book of the Dead is quite the thing. It's a lot of phrasing, a lot of words. Jeez. How would you remember that? I suppose it's just like any other religion. You'd have to remember all of that. If you want to go where they want you to go, you got to remember do and then pay the price to get there. It talks about the boat of Ra. field of fire. Let's see, where are we going here? Wisdom of the Egyptian. Going on into the boat. More of the boat of Ra. The chapter is going into the boat of Ra. Okay. Hail thou great God who art in thy boat, being thou me into thy boat. Okay, we don't want to go on there. Let's this just is all. I want to know more about the book. Why don't they just tell you? It's just talking about, they're basically saying Horus and Hemotep and all these gods, and they're praying to each one of these gods, and each one is telling them to do one thing or another. Oops. I guess that one ain't meant to be open, is it? Chapter there. Stuck together. Anyway. The Book of the Dead. Not good. Oh, these are stuck together. You know, nobody ever read this book because obviously they just didn't. These pages are still not, they're still stuck together. Anyway. What are you all thinking of this? All I'm thinking is I need a drink because that's a lot of reading. Oh boy. Well, anyway, if you guys know more about the Book of the Dead than me, send me an email. Tell me all about it. But all I can say, they're talking about the lotus flower. I am pure lotus, which springeth up from the divine splendor and beneath the nostrils of Ra. I have made my way, and I follow on, seeking for him who is Horus. I am the pure one, who cometh forth out of the field. I guess this is the whole thing is, you're saying prayers to talk your way through all of this evilness or whatever you got to do so you can make it to that land of bliss on the other side of the field. Here it's talking about the path. Then it goes into performing transformations, coming forth by day. Another chapter. I am the fire god, the divine brother of the fire god. I am Osiris, the brother of Isis, my divine son. Together with his mother, Isis hath avenged me on my enemies. You know, we'll have to get into who was Osiris. Who were these people? But this here goes, the chapter of bringing charms to Osiris. So you made it to Osiris, and you're still on your path. The chapter of memory. Then you sing a hymn to Ra. Once you get past that, hermetic writings. And now we are on to, let's see. Now you've made it there. The hymn of praise to Ra when he riseth in the eastern part of the heavens. Those who are in his train rejoice. And lo, Osiris, anti-victorious saint, hail thou disk, O Lord of rays, who raisest upon the horizon day by day. Shinest thou with thy beams of light upon the face of Osiris, Antai, who is victorious. For he singeth hymns of praise unto thee at dawn, and he maketh thee to set at evening tide with words of adoration. May the soul of Osiris, Antai, triumphed one, come forth with thee into heaven. May he go forth in the matter boat. May he come into the port of Sketer boat, and may he cleave his path among the never resting stars in the heavens. Okay, and that is the Book of the Dead. And next we'll go into hermetic writings. That will be tomorrow's chapter. Anyway, thank you for coming and listening to me babble. So, anyway, what did we learn there? It means that you got to travel this path. Ra is in the boat. He is the sun god. He's traveling around the world. And as he travels around the world, you pray to him and you say these words and you thank all the gods and you do the thing and you try to make it through by thanking the other gods out there, the other ones that are guiding you on your path till you can get to where you need to go. Once you get there, you you thank Ra and you sing him a song and you do whatever you got to do. But Ra is the ultimate one. But you're trying to appease Osiris because he's kind of guarding things. Which I'll tell you what, it's the same thing as all the other religions. And you got all these things you have to go through, and during life, I think the meaning, is that during life, this is what I get out of all of these things, is during life, don't sit there like a bump on a log. I'm going to be candid with you. I'm a redneck. Okay? Don't sit like a bump on a log. That's what it is. Don't sit like a bump on a log. Don't just concern yourself with watching football and TV and stupid shows and, playing on your computer and stupid video games and things like that. Read a book. Maybe study something. Learn something. Talk to other people. Experience some life. There's a big world out there. Go outside. There's more to the world in your backyard. The world goes on. Learn about it. Figure out what's right for you. Learn what's inside you to find the answers. Maybe write it down. Maybe it's in your dreams, or maybe you're channeling it. Channeling is good. Because your higher self is telling you the answers. It's not some other crazy thing. So go with that. Remember, the most powerful thing in the world is you. And that's what I got to say about it all. So thank you for coming. Remember, be the frequency you want to receive, everybody, because that's the best frequency you'll ever be. Okay, everyone. Love you all. Peace.